Hello and welcome back to Just Meg Elise, a podcast about healing, remembering who you are, and diving into deeper alignment. I'm Meg, and I'll be your host. So today I want to talk about what we can do after we've messed up or made a mistake, essentially the art of repairing. So we all mess up sometimes, all of us are human, all of us are flawed human beings, and we're all going to make mistakes. It's how do we repair that mistake? How do we find a way moving forward to act differently? How do we approach that situation differently in the future? We've all snapped. We've all shut down. We've all said things we don't mean. That doesn't make us bad people. It makes us human. Do you know how many times I've said the wrong thing and didn't realize it until later, or wanted to say something and didn't, or said something that I realized later could have come across as really mean or too blunt or hurtful to that person? Or looked back on my life when I didn't have as much self-awareness and realized some of the actions then could have really hurt people many, many times. And in the past, sometimes I wasn't able to hold that because thoughts of shame would come up. And so the thoughts of shame were so great that I would just push it away and pretend like that had never happened. A lot of times we have thoughts like, if I did something bad, then I'm bad. I'm a bad person. I'm no good, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, etc., which are false. They're false beliefs. And as I've talked about in many previous episodes, we have to start talking back to those thoughts, because those thoughts are often what's keeping us from having genuine relationships with people. And in this episode, from apologizing fully. Thoughts of shame sometimes keep us from apologizing fully. And so we do need to work through that. Or let's say you tend to shut down after an argument or something like that. Maybe you have more of an avoidant attachment style. Or maybe you go into people pleaser mode and you're trying to fix things in other ways without actually apologizing, like buying them stuff, or let me give you a back rub, let me do things for you, let me cook you dinner, let me buy you this thing, let me give you some money, instead of actually working to repair things. So it's like a workaround, right? Like, I get why people do it. I don't think that they're bad human beings for trying to repair that way, but I just think that it requires some self-awareness. Like, why am I not able to say the words I'm sorry, and instead I'm doing a workaround, you know? What is coming up in me that is holding me back from apologizing? Is it a fear that I think by admitting blame, that I'm admitting I'm some sort of bad person? Because that thought is very common. I've had it myself. But it's not true. You making a mistake does not make you a bad person. Do you know how many mistakes I've made? And you, and your neighbor, and your partner, and your child. We're humans. But our thoughts tend to spiral into really negative thoughts when we've made a mistake. So we just need to hold ourselves with so much compassion in those moments and speak back to those negative thoughts, because it's putting up a wall between you and the relationships that you're truly wanting. Because a true, loving, reciprocal relationship, it's going to involve repair. It's going to involve apology, because shit's gonna happen. Shit happens. You say the wrong thing, you react the wrong way, you're overwhelmed, you're overstimulated, you withdraw, you snap at somebody. It happens. It happens. It's, can I change how I react in the future? Can I look at this and try and change how I react in the future? And it's also, does this need repair? Have I done something that's possibly harmful to another human being that I love and care about and I want a good relationship with? Okay, then I might need to apologize. So ruptures can happen at any moment, and they can be big or small, and that can disrupt a sense of safety between people. It's part of being in a relationship. But the good news is, rupture, yes, it's inevitable, but repair is possible. And repair is also a skill that we have not been taught in life. Most of us have not been taught. Our parents weren't taught it, their parents weren't taught it, their parents weren't taught it, and so really all of us are often missing the art of repair. And I'm still learning it myself. I'm still, clunkily going through it and learning as I go. But one thing that I've started implementing is, the second I realize I've done something that maybe hurt somebody else, I try and apologize right there in that moment. Like, I'm really sorry if I allowed my emotions to get the better of me just now. And I'm sorry if my words hurt your feelings or my actions or whatever, because I don't want things to fester. I don't want resentment to build. And so I try and address things in the moment after they've happened. Sometimes, if it's a really energy-filled argument, for lack of a better word, sometimes we both, on both sides, need a moment to like breathe, self-regulate, which we're going to talk about how important that is. And that's step one before an apology, is self-regulating. But we need a moment to self-regulate, maybe take time apart, so that we're not coming at each other with really, really high emotions, because that's when things can get said that you don't mean. Right? We've all said things we don't mean. We've all gone too far with our words sometimes. It's okay. You're human, but it's how can I improve upon this, right? And how can I repair this if I've caused harm? I started to ask myself years ago, why is it so hard for me to apologize? Like, what is coming up in me that's making this so hard? And I think it was a number of things. Like, sometimes we confuse repair with like groveling or self-erasure, almost like our part in things doesn't matter because I made a mistake. But that's not true. A lot of times when there's an argument, like, things were done on both sides, and we have things to apologize for, just like they may have things to apologize for. But it's owning our own shit, And so it is not, that's another thing I want to talk about. When you're apologizing, you're not erasing what you're also going through, but you're also not leading with that. We're leading with the impact first, the impact of our actions on another person. We're leading with that first. We're apologizing first. And then you can explain your intention if need be. And you can explain your side of things. And you can explain, maybe some stuff that was hurtful to you, and then talk about that. If it was a really, emotional argument where things were said on both sides. But repair, true repair, it honors both people's experiences, and common blockers of not being able to fully apologize or not being able to fully repair something is perfectionism, pride, our ego kicking in. Well, they did something wrong too. And, like, try and witness the things that are coming up when you're having trouble apologizing. What sort of thoughts are coming up? Most of the time they're false. It could also be guilt, it could also be fear of rejection. Like, if I apologize, they're going to know that I'm flawed, and oh my God, God forbid I'm flawed, and then they're going to reject me. It's horrible thoughts that aren't true. Apologies are going to strengthen the bonds that you have with people, not push them away. And another huge one, as we've talked about, is the shame spirals. We start to go into a spiral of shame, and it stops us from apologizing. A lot of times, the spiral shame starts, and it's so heavy that we can't even hold that, so we numb. We scroll on our phone, whatever your go-to mechanism for numbing is, and we push that away, and no, I can't hold that. And that's how I was when I was younger. It was like I couldn't hold that I had done something wrong, so I had trouble apologizing to people. But I don't want to be like that anymore. It's important. When you think about it from your perspective, has there ever been a time when somebody did something or said something that really hurt your feelings, whether they meant to hurt you or not? Their impact matters, right? Their intention also matters, just like our intention matters, but their impact also matters, the impact it had on you, right? And in that scenario, did you never get an apology from them? And how did that feel? It felt like maybe you weren't important enough to apologize to, or like they didn't think that they did harm after all, or it can make you feel very small and unappreciated and unloved, right? Okay, now let's look at it from the opposite point of view. When we possibly hurt others, whether we meant to or not, again, mistakes happen, we're human beings, but if we hurt others, they're possibly feeling that same way if they don't get a genuine apology from us, right? So just trying to see that, trying to look at it from another person's perspective, trying to sit in their shoes for a moment and asking yourself, how would I feel if a person did this exact same thing to me and they weren't able to apologize? How would that make me feel? Okay, my friend, my family member, my child, whatever, might be feeling the exact same way. Unloved, unheard, unrecognized, unappreciated, whatever it is, right? And that right there That's another thing. Me saying those things to you, that might bring up feelings of shame, thoughts of shame, right? Speak back to those thoughts. You can say things like, I am a good human being. I made a mistake, yes, but I am still a good human being, and I can work to repair this. I can try and repair this. What's the lesson here that I can take forward and work to be better in the future? To speak with more tact, to speak with more compassion, to not blow up or rage in the future, whatever it is, whatever the mistake was, right? So I want to share a personal story. This happened yesterday. So I've been helping my mom move. My mom and my stepdad are moving, and so I was there Friday and Saturday. And sometimes my mom and me clash, as do many parents and children. And it happened a couple of times. For the most part, we were good, but we were like putting together a bed frame, and she wanted it done a certain way, and she was trying to voice that, and I feel like perhaps she felt like she wasn't being heard, and I was also trying to voice like, well, we should do it this way. And I sometimes feel like my mom, she like sometimes makes things harder than they need to be. I know she's trying to be helpful, but sometimes it makes it a little harder than it needs to be, in my opinion. So I was trying to express what I think needed to be done. She was trying to express what she thought needed to be done. And there was a clash there, right? And I started to get frustrated because I'm like, I feel like you're making this harder than it needs to be. And she could be thinking the exact same thing. So after that happened, I ended up saying to her, like, I'm really sorry if emotions got heated there. I didn't mean to hurt you. And things were fine. And honestly, I think things were fine anyways, because we kind of know that we're going to clash sometimes. But it's still, she deserved that apology from me, And just like I deserve an apology from other people if they've spoken to me poorly or got too emotional or whatever. But I try and look at it from that same lens. Like, how do I feel when people speak to me like that and maybe get frustrated with me or short-tempered with me? Okay, that doesn't make me feel good, right? Okay, so that person deserves an apology. And so I try and do that now. I try and realize, like, right after the rupture, apologizing. And I'll tell you another thing. Before, like when I first started getting good at apologizing years ago, it was hard to do it in front of other people. And again, I think it was because those thoughts of shame started coming up. I started thinking, if I'm in front of other people and I'm apologizing, they're going to realize I'm a flawed human. Oh my God, we can't have that. And they're going to think everything's my fault when it's not. Things like that started coming up. And now I noticed this yesterday, and I've noticed it just recently. I have a much easier time apologizing in front of a group of people. Like, my stepdad was there, my mom's friend was there, and I just said, hey Mom, I'm really sorry if, things got heated there, or things got too emotional. I apologize for that. And she goes, it's okay. And then we moved on. But like, previous me, I wouldn't have been able to apologize in front of a group of people. It shows growth. Like, this muscle, once you start using it, it does get easier, and you're not shame spiraling anymore. And you're able to say to yourself, I'm a human, I make mistakes, and that's okay. It's how do we repair them? And it's also, you realize how good it feels to apologize. That's another thing we don't talk about. It feels like such a weight has been lifted when we apologize, because even though we might not be admitting it to ourselves because we're spiraling in shame, we're still holding on to things from the past that we maybe made a mistake, and we're like holding on to those things without even realizing it sometimes. And then when I'm finally able to express to people, like, I'm really sorry if I hurt you that time, and we're able to talk it through, it's such a weight that's lifted. It feels good. It feels good to apologize. The first one, if you're not good at apologizing and you haven't really practice that, yeah, you might spiral into some thoughts of shame, start to speak back to those thoughts. That's normal. But over time, that muscle does get better. It does get easier. And honestly, it feels good. It feels good to apologize. It's almost like, I don't know why I'm about to cry. It's almost like another form of love. Like showing that person, I do love you. I don't mean to hurt you. So when I hurt you, that hurts me. And I want to repair this. In a weird way, it is like showing the people that you love them. We get flowers for the people we love. We get cards for them. Why not give them an apology? They deserve that too. Just as we also do. You deserve that too. I know there's shit that's happened in your life that you probably never got an apology for, and you still deserve that. So I want to talk about the anatomy of a good repair. The art of repair, shall we say. The first one, the main one, is nervous system regulation. You don't want to apologize when you're still in a very emotional state, right? Sometimes we need to take time to separate, to calm down, to regulate both of our nervous systems, especially if it was a mutual argument. Regulate and then come back to that conversation from a more grounded and calm place. That's step one. Step two is to start with clear ownership, to say something like, I realize I hurt you when or I see now that what I said or what I did may have caused you harm or hurt your feelings, and I'm so sorry. We're acknowledging the impact of our actions first. Intention matters, yes, we've talked about this, but so does your impact. And you shouldn't be leading with your intention. You shouldn't be saying, well, I didn't mean it like that, and that's not what I meant, and you did this. Don't lead with that. It's going to feel very invalidating for the person receiving that. Lead with your impact first, how this impacted them. You could say something like, it makes a lot of sense if you'd feel sad, or I can imagine that felt really upsetting or frustrating. Acknowledging the possible impact of that. And then offering a sincere apology, saying, I'm really truly sorry if I hurt you, or I'm truly sorry if I caused harm to you in that moment, or I really regret how my actions or my words affected you. And then, this is optional, but you can share your intentions, right? Again, lead with impact first, but you can still share your intention. So after the impact is acknowledged, you can say something like, listen, that wasn't my intention, but I completely understand how it came across. Or, I see now that even though I meant well, that didn't land right. It's okay to explain that. It's okay to say, I'm so sorry if that hurt you. That was not my intention. Here's what happened. And then also the last step would be committing to growth or repair. Because here's the thing, just apologizing, and not trying to work to change your actions, that can be manipulative, right? We don't want to stray into that territory. So it's noticing when I raised my voice or when I said something that was hurtful. Okay, next time, can I change how I say that? Okay, next time, can I try and regulate myself before spinning out of control or getting too emotional, And it's going, yes, it might take time. You're not going to be perfect overnight, but it's committing to the growth, right? It's committing to the repair. It's committing to try and make yourself better, whether that's 1% better, 5% better, 10% better over time, right? It's committing to change. Oh my gosh, a therapist once said this to me. They said a lot of times people won't apologize because that means they would have to change their behavior. Yes, because that's what we want, right? We want the apology, but we also want changed behavior. If you've yelled at us and that hurt our feelings, we don't want to be yelled at again in the future. We'd like for you to change that behavior. And so a lot of times, and gosh, I wish I would have mentioned this at the beginning, but that is also stopping us from apologizing sometimes. Yes, it's stopping other people from apologizing to us, but we also have to look at it through our own lens, which can be hard because we start to shame spiral. But has there ever been a time where somebody is asking me to change something and I don't want to because that means I would have to change my behavior? That one's hard. That one's hard to sit with, and I get it. Let's think of an example from my own life. Okay, I got one. So about 15 years ago, so first I got to preface by telling you this. So sometimes I partake in, you get what I'm saying. Mostly now it's like gummies or chocolates every now and then, but it's not an everyday thing. 15 years ago, for a little bit, it was an everyday thing. And I had a partner one time come to me and be like, listen, it kind of bugs me that you do this every day. It feels like you're checking out of reality. And at first I got like really defensive internally, and I was like, well, F you. Like, this is something that's helping me and this is something I want to do. And if you don't like it, be gone. But then, funny enough, about 5 years ago, I dated a guy who, again, same thing, all day, every day. And it was hard because I was like, it feels like you're numbing reality. And I had like a light bulb moment where I was like, oh yeah, that other guy that I dated felt the same way. Okay, I get it now. I get it. But at the time, I didn't want to change that behavior. So I'm not going to apologize because then I would have to change my behavior. And that's an example of where it showed up in my own life, And honestly, me and that guy were kind of incompatible in other ways, so it didn't work out. But I remember thinking, accept me how I am, and I've talked about this in my book. I definitely agree with that. Certain parts of us do need to be just accepted exactly how we are, especially our bodies. We don't need to be changing our bodies for anyone. They're beautiful how they are. But there are things that we can work to change, so I go back and forth with that about people saying, don't change me, accept me exactly as I am. I agree with that partially, but we have all also picked up really poor coping mechanisms because of trauma, all of us. And we might have issues in a certain area, issues with communicating fully, or issues with apologizing fully, or, wherever it is, wherever our shortcomings are, and all of us have them. We're human. We're flawed human beings. But it's trying to recognize when we notice those shortcomings and can we work to fix this, right? It's trying not to spiral into shame. You're not a horrible person for being flawed. Everybody is flawed. You are going to have strengths in certain areas that other people do not, and vice versa, And it's really often nice too if you find a partner that kind of balances you out, because we are flawed humans, and that's okay. But still, if somebody's coming to you with something that's hurting their feelings, or might be a habit that they don't care for, that we're able to try and look at or work on or shift a little bit to make that person more comfortable. Is that possible? It's, can we work to repair that, right? Can we be open enough to work to change our behavior a little bit and show up differently next time? And this can even be telling somebody, listen, I'm committed to being more mindful about this moving forward. Or is there anything I can do to help repair any harm that I've done? Is there anything that you need from me? Are you okay? Asking those sort of questions. And also something else I want to address is, what if the other person isn't open to repairing things? Because that can happen. First of all, number one, we cannot force somebody else to apologize. That's number one. Number two, we cannot force somebody to accept our apology, right? Because perhaps we allowed it to fester for too long, or whatever it is. Like, I can think of examples of friends who have told me about really abusive parents, and they're no longer in contact with those parents anymore. And I can imagine if that parent ever came back to try and apologize, they may or may not be open to that. And that's okay. That's up to them. And that can be a really hard thing to hold, but that shouldn't stop you from trying to apologize, right? Another person's reaction shouldn't stop you from trying to repair. And then also after the apology or after the event, especially during the emotion regulation side of things, a lot of stuff that helps me is journaling, movement, and just self-reflections, reflecting on, what have I done wrong here? What have they done wrong here? What can I work on? What can they work on? That sort of thing. And you guys know I love journaling, so I'm going to give you some journaling prompts that might help you with this. So the first one is, first of all, think of an event where you maybe reacted differently or reacted with too much emotion. Maybe you were overwhelmed, you were overstimulated, whatever it is. But here's the journaling prompt. What would things have looked like if I paused first before reacting? And trust me, I am still learning this one. Could I have reacted differently in that moment? Could I have reacted from a calmer place, a more regulated place? Here's another one. If I responded with an overreaction, what was I possibly trying to protect in that moment? Using the example I gave you from earlier when we were putting together that bed frame and I felt like I got really emotional, I was feeling unheard. That's what I was feeling in that moment. And I think I was trying to protect that inner part of me that possibly felt unheard throughout my life. But the thing is, she could have felt unheard as well. The same thing could have been happening for her. But it's asking ourselves, what was I possibly trying to protect in that moment? When we're becoming overly defensive, or when we say something that maybe we didn't mean, what are you trying to protect within you? Is it an unhealed version of you? Is it a part of you from childhood that maybe felt unheard or unloved or unsupported, whatever it is? And looking at that. Here's another journaling prompt. What does self-responsibility without the shame look like for me? Maybe it could be you saying to yourself, I made a mistake, I'm human, I'm not a bad person, mistakes are human. It's how we move past them and how we repair them that matters, right? It's speaking back to those thoughts in that moment. and possibly gaining what Brene Brown calls shame resilience. You're building that shame muscle by apologizing. You're building shame resilience by apologizing, because that muscle will get stronger and stronger over time. And that shame spiral won't happen as much over time, or at all. So ruptures are part of being human. Ruptures are going to happen in our relationships, platonic and romantic, and with family and with children, whatever it is, things are going to happen. Things are going to get said that you didn't mean, that are going to hurt people. Maybe you get overstimulated, over-emotional, whatever it is, it's going to happen. You're going to do it, and others are going to do it to you as well. But repair is the art of staying connected to others and to ourselves. And the more we practice honest repair, the more emotional safety we are building in our relationships. Not only in our relationships, but inside our own nervous systems. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love it if you left me a comment. I love to hear from you guys. And thank you so much for joining me today. If you're wanting to go deeper on your healing journey, there are also many ways to connect, and they're all going to be linked below in the show description notes. So first, my book, Don't You Dare, is available for purchase on Amazon. If you want to dive into the ego voice or shadow work, I think it's a beautiful tool for that. I also have my most loved meditation bundle. This is available for purchase. It's my highest rated meditations over the years. I have a course called the Affirmation Reset course, which helps us to rewire negative beliefs or limiting beliefs, that sort of thing. I also offer one-on-one coaching and hypnotherapy services. You can access that through my website, meganshirey.com, meganshirey.com. I also teach a free live guided meditation every Sunday morning on the Insight Timer app, and you can access that for free. You don't have to be a member. It's at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, 8 Mountain, 7 Pacific. So hopefully we can see you there. Also consider joining us on Patreon. You'll get exclusive behind-the-scenes reflections, a soft healing community space, and so much more. And if you enjoy these episodes, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and please leave us a review. It helps us to expand this community. May you be happy, may you be well, may you be joyous and at ease, sending you infinite love and light, and until next time.